Hey everyone, I'm Jack, and today I'll be re-ranking the bosses of Rocksteady's Batman Arkham Asylum from worst to best as part of our ongoing Remastered ranking series. After 60 plus videos scripted, recorded, edited, and produced, we come full circle to where it all began, the grandfather of superhero games and the first boss ranking on this channel, Arkham Asylum. Cytonox has been quite the surprising journey for Alex and I so far. Never did we consider the business and economics that play into the world of YouTube, nor the natural demands of comments, consistency, and quality. Simply put, we underestimated the ridiculous amount of work required to keep a channel afloat. Needless to say, reaching a point where we can comfortably remake an entire video from the ground up with there being a noticeable leap in standard from one to another is a belief we always held, but never really did, although being able to quite literally redo an early work that I've personally always wanted to do is an achievement Alex and I are extremely proud and grateful to have and share. Since this is a remastered ranking, and the same goes for all future remastered rankings, I played Asylum on the hardest difficulty, in this case hard, rather than normal. In turn, my opinions shifted vastly. Hard in Arkham Asylum is by far the most punishing max difficulty of any in the Arkham series, as it removes counter indicators entirely while also increasing AI aggression, causing extremely clunky gameplay on occasion, and as you'll see, dropping and even raising bosses to entirely new highs and disappointingly new lows, respectively. As well, this is all done from the perspective of a bona fide veteran. I've gotten nearly every trophy possible in this series and have at least two 100/120% completion files for each of the 4 Arkham games, meaning some bosses that others without experience would find boring, frustrating, or even difficult, I may or may not find totally inverted opinion-wise. Even after 5 separate run-throughs within the span of a year, Arkham Asylum remains one of my all-time favorite games due to its haunting atmosphere, tight-knit but expertly crafted story and gameplay evolution, and, of course, its fairly mediocre yet entertaining boss catalog. As the first of 4 Arkham rankings remastered, I'm beyond excited to dive headfirst for the second time into one of my favorite gaming series, and be on the lookout for City's re-ranking very soon. With all that said, let's re-enter Arkham Island. Poison Ivy. She's uglier than you remember, and her fight is just as bad. I'd never really understood why Ivy was so heavily praised for her role within Asylum's story. She adds little to it, overflowing the island with Titan-infused plants aside, a semi-ridiculous phrase in of itself, and her fight was one I just never really got. I put her at the second place spot in the original video out of fear of backlash mainly, and as you'll come to see with a lot of what I said in my original ranking, it was simply coy, pandering to a broader audience. Sure, there are absolutely tones of mechanical complexity throughout this encounter, however, it's nothing that other bosses found earlier in the game didn't do better, i.e. camera angle variation, unique arena, even batarangs. If Poison Ivy had less health, I'd say the roaring applause this fight consistently receives would be, well, sorta understandable, but she ultimately drops off like Derrick Rose post-2012 playoffs when on hard mode compared to normal. This goes for the entire game, but the combat gets significantly more clunky with increased AI aggression, and hand-to-hand combat sometimes becomes impossibly battered to the point where combos are simply not achievable add-on an arena-wide boss. You can knock the Ivy-afflicted guards off the arena into the Temple of Doom-esque pit, but Ivy will simply pluck them out and put them back up like nothing happened. Her vines have very unclear hitboxes as well. Mix this with Batman's tendency to go after enemies he's not even facing, and you will consistently find yourself getting caught in this attack from the nature of the combat on hard itself. Admittedly, the first phase without any external threat goes by easy enough, although the unnecessary second phase, featuring double as much HP and enough batarangs to question immersion, makes for a well-prolonged fight that brings out about as much positive emotion for me as if I got told I had a baker's dozens of genital warts. Overrated is easily the most applicable term I'd say, with Poison Ivy having minimal redeeming qualities and an abundance of time-wasting mechanics existing to solely frustrate the player. A shocker for most, I'm sure, Titan Joker isn't last place in an Arkham Asylum boss ranking. On a bit of a random note here, in my original script from the summer of 2020, I had him in second place, then changed my mind because democracy, along with just about every human on this planet, hated this thing more than Al-Qaeda. Anyways, even though Titan Joker is the living entity of utter plot decomposition, I had such a miserable time suffering death by three-leaf clover endlessly that only a boss on the levels of Lud and Zalin could even come close to rivaling Poison Ivy. At least Joker is easy, albeit stupid, and even then the story sort of kicked off into Shitsville before this fight even began, with Ivy enter island-wide botanical festival. The arena design is quite clever to give props where they're due, namely in that you can knock any number of goons into the fence, taking them out in one go, and melting their face off like Max Shrek, but they aren't dead, it's Batman, bro. Nonetheless, the main issue, or rather issues, is that Titan Joker is a completely introverted anti-variant of the Joker, a variant you barely fight for reference, and 2, ruins the story's build-up by forcing an ending that gives outlandish closure to an otherwise grounded narrative. As well, I put it weirdly in the first video by saying, quote, I got really excited when Joker injected Batman because I think it would have been super cool to have 2 behemoth versions of the hero and villain dynamic duo duke it out on the rooftops, or just having a Titan Batman vs Titan Joker, a truly missed opportunity put in a good 50 or so too many words. When not fighting Joker's infinite pool of underlings, you grapple him away from the local news, not even like CNN or NBC or something national. With the Ultra Batclaw, knock him silly, then casually walk away while he swipes at you with all the effort of a half-dead earthworm. This is the fight in its entirety, an anticlimactic, completely tits-out ending featuring a mid-2000s aesthetic that after finishing the Batman 2004 I can appreciate a bit, it's still just weird. I feel as if Titan Joker is overhated, nonetheless it's pretty terrible with context, and for mainly the story among other niche negatives makes it deserving of a bottom tier placement. And just like that, the bosses aren't so bad anymore. Joker's experimental Titan is still great with relation to atmosphere, although knowing you can't die, and also if you throw an early enough timed batarang you can quite literally walk out of the way of the Titan's impending stampede, best put, the easiness that comes with repetition hurts this boss's impression. With no discernations from any other Titan aside from being scripted, the early beginning of Joker's end is fine, but nothing more. We continue our crusade of Titan-infused everything, it's like fentanyl but for humans, with Titans, base enemies turned rampant monsters. As you've likely noticed by now, there are 2 more slots in this video than there was in the original, with the Titans placement being split between the following: the already covered Experimental Titan, Base Titans, and Twin Titans. Spoiler alert. The mechanics of all Titans, be it black, white, Bane, are all the same: quick fire batarang while they rev up their run, or at least attempt to, and get out of the way. There's only one lone Titan fight, although you could absolutely argue Bane qualifies, and for me this thing is the most difficult boss in the game. I'd like to say I'm above average when it comes to the Arkham series. I've platinumed Asylum and Night and have every trophy except City's Nightwing, Catwoman, and Robin challenge ones, and Origins' multiplayer trophies, as the multiplayer is no longer active. Nonetheless, the tight spacing and high volume wads of thugs parading around a minuscule sewer room, also while dealing with the Titan, makes it hard to comprehend what's going on ever. Enemies in this game and City get increased aggression when you hit Titans while they're in a vegetative state, sometimes meaning you can't even capitalize on riding them nor comboing them while stunned. Titans are still potent unless they're out fully as well. They blindly swing around, hitting both you and the enemy, and it's common to get caught in a thug swarm, then passed around until a Titan drunkenly smashes you halfway across the room. Eventually you'll get down the timings of the encounter, and do note that while riding the Titan you can knock the enemies into the electric gate. However, the difficulty comes from being rather obnoxious through overdone enemy padding over, say, fair gameplay. We close out our rather insignificant Titan trio with Twin Titans. I'm fully aware that Titans in general were last-minute additions to what were otherwise blank combat bits, and while in the first video I said I would have preferred a Predator section, or a combat section, or even nothing at all over the Titan fights we got, well, I kind of enjoy them now. Twin fights are hectic from overcompensation and really emphasize how well made the Titan riding mechanic is, allowing you to deal large chunks to enemies and other Titans alike. There is practically nothing different mechanically aside from having to deal with multiple Titans and a large crowd for the later twin encounter, but the arenas are properly large and provide well more than enough space to comfortably deal with the last remaining of Joker's test subjects. Disappointing? Hell yeah, but it's still Bane, and his costume design and great dialogue cover the drab rehash that he is in reality. As well, the ending cutscene is still to this day one of the best finishers in any Arkham or Spider-Man game. You could make the argument that the lameness of this being a reskinned Titan is amplified by his even more limp dick showing in Arkham City, but that'd be cheap. Bane's short stay as side antagonist, serving as the true introduction to the power of Titan and the reveal of Dr. Young's secret, was invigorating. However, this is ultimately just your average Titan with a prominent name slapped on it for the sake of connectivity. When I mentioned the veteran's perspective in the introduction, I had Killer Croc in mind specifically. While I claimed it took me like 14 minutes or something ridiculous in the first video, it was about 9 to 10 minutes in actuality, which is still a bit insane. Nonetheless, I dropped Croc to number 3 way back due to how long it took from walking at the pace of the Ola Dea turtle. But that's just it. You don't have to walk that slow at all. You can actually go full throttle ahead at a crouch, which speed-wise is about halfway between walking and sprinting, and be totally fine. For note, the soundbar is a placebo mechanic, intended to freak you out and make you take your time, when realistically it exists to show off the game's high-quality sound production and nothing more. Of course, you can't do an all-out sprint, and taking your time like I did just drags it out, but at the speed shown, I was able to collect all the spores in about 4 minutes, give or take. The attention to detail with this fight blew me away, beginning with the jump scare early in the game, and in the actual fight there are many features, such as a Jaws-esque Croc animation for when you line launch over open water, for example, that go totally unnoticed unless activated. Walking back once you collect the spores is prone to bugs, oddly enough. Sometimes the passageway is blocked off and impossible to reach, meaning you have to kill yourself and restart, but once again the fast-paced crouch walk makes the 500m dash go by rather swiftly. With another fantastic ending that also has a separate cutscene should you fail to press R1 within 5 seconds. Killer Croc's short, scary stint in the sewers is greatly memorable in a fight I look forward to every playthrough. I was surprised at how few people agreed with my opinion on Scarecrow, yet this playthrough was only affirmation to my beliefs, and without question, Dr. Jonathan Crane remains the best boss in Arkham Asylum by a good margin. One thing I enjoy in entertainment is when whatever I indulge myself in makes me think or fucks with my mind. Prisoners, American Psycho, and Breaking Bad are all great examples of this. While video games, due to their limitations of a small set of button mapping options and storage capacity, rarely accomplish this in gameplay, Scarecrow is a prime exhibit in mind-fucking, possibly the best I've ever faced in a game. Each sequence gets progressively darker, presumably Batman intakes a larger amount of fear gas with each as well, escalating from Gordon dying up to the game literally restarting in verse. Now, to those who haven't played Asylum, you're likely questioning cinematic lapses in gameplay trumping all and earning the title of best boss in the game. Well, it's not. While Scarecrow's reign of terror ends fairly early, around 2/3 through the story, each follows a significant event in the game and in turn freshly unlocked mechanics. Once you get past the cinematics, you enter a world-breaking 2-dimensional but still technically 3-dimensional platformer. A gigantic Scarecrow scans the open spaces throughout each stealth section, forcing you to tactfully hide from his unnerving stare, playing into components of timing and reactions along with minor combat and parkour bits that collectively make extremely fresh takes on an otherwise repetitive overworld. It's impossible to run through any of the 3 levels on full sprint, with most segments requiring you to use newly unlocked gadgets to progress while also inputting timing and strategy as to when you move forward. While unique gameplay doesn't always necessarily lead to groundbreaking fun, in a similar vein to a few of Blasphemous's final DLC bosses, gameplay so entirely different from the base game, yet still clearly set in that world's mechanics, make for an extraordinarily fun time that no one is able to compete with. With a perfect blend of deranged mental psychosis, unique, enthralling platforming, and inconsequential yet memorable story impact, Scarecrow, nearing on 2 years later, remains the best boss in Arkham Asylum and one of the greats in the series at that. Thank you so much for watching, and be on the lookout for the remaining 3 Batman Arkham boss ranking remasters. It was a joy to script and edit this video, and I can't wait to do the rest. That's all for now. Deuces.